And welcome to the Weekend Roundup, ladies and gentlemen. That is my friend, award-winning whistleblower, former Trump fixer, Giuliani fixer, Lev Parnas. He's also an author. Shadow Diplomacy, read it 2 weeks ago. It is an excellent book. Lev Remembers is the name of his Substack. Make sure you become a subscriber because what he does is he burns phones all day, gets information, then gives it to yahoos like me so we can have a conversation about it. And we're going to get to all that today. Nice to see you, my friend. We're just letting people kind of walk in here right now. They're slowly streaming in. Saw you on a weekend. Lev Remembers with Zev and another incredible investigative reporter that was absolutely phenomenal. Really good.
Yeah, that was great. Patrick called me up. Yeah, so I met Patrick also when I got my whistleblower award. He actually interviewed me on his podcast.
Yeah.
And we became friends. He's also became one of my subscribers on Substack, and he's been after reading some of my stuff, he just started contacting me and saying, "Hey, Lev, like I have a lot of because he's a investigative journalist, deals a lot with the financial crimes, financial stuff, going back to Bear Stearns, all of the stuff that leads to Trump and some of his cronies." And he goes, "I got a lot of that stuff." And then when me and Zev did our Substack, he's like, "Oh my God, you got to introduce me to Zev." So I was at my son's football practice, and Zev and him text me. They're like, "Hey, you want to do a Substack Live?" I'm like, "You know what? Let's do it." So we just
Yeah, I knew you were outside. I didn't know your kid's football game. That's called dedication, is what that is. Your Substack living while your kid plays football. It's the bug. We were talking about it earlier. I feel like I'm not doing my job if I'm not doing my job. Like we live in this unbelievably intense, chaotic, weird, fucked up time where you feel like you see something come across your purview, or you see it pop up on social media, or you'll take a phone call or get a note from a friend like you do, and you're like, I got to get this out. And you literally will stop at the side of the road to do a quick Substack Live. You'll stop, watching your kid's football game because the country's at stake. And we're going to talk about a bunch of that shit today. Let's start. Where do you want to start? Because we've got Chicago. Oh, these are all distractions, by the way. Distraction theater. Keep your eye on the puck, as my friend Lev likes to say. We got Chicago. That's big news. We've got an E. Jean Carroll win today. That was huge. We've also got Venezuela. We've also got terror in Ukraine, and maybe we should start there because you put out a post that scared me, quite frankly. 805 Shahed drones, ballistic missiles, hitting another government building, killing a bunch of people in Ukraine as they were sleeping again. It was the biggest attack of the Russian invasion, the illegal Russian invasion, the genocidal Russian invasion of Ukraine. What are you hearing coming out of Ukraine right now? Because, there's the attachment here would be Trump saying, yeah, I'm going to do something, but Donnie 2 weeks never fucking does anything.
I mean, I can't even explain you how sickening it is to see what's going on. I mean, this weekend, that attack, this was the biggest drone attack since the beginning of the war of 2022. I mean, it was devastating. And, I was speaking to my cousin Alex. He's going through some stuff right now. He's actually in the middle of a move and on his way to right now Dnipropetrovsk. I think tomorrow he's actually going to be going there. We're going to do a live stream from there because they're getting hit really hard, and he's going to be delivering a lot of the aid to the front line. So we're going to do that. So, I mean, look, it's the same old trick. I hate to keep saying it because it sounds like I'm gloating or something, but like I'm saying it in the real way as I told you so. I mean, and I'm not saying it in a way to all of you that listen and believe me. I'm telling it to the people that the naysayers, because we still have, even though we have a big community here, you still have people in the community that don't believe everything I say, and they have the right to, because some of the things I say is completely off the wall. My wife, my sister, they don't believe everything I say because they're like, you can't, and then that's when it happens, they're like, holy shit, I can't believe that happened. Because sometimes I literally don't believe myself what I say because of the how crazy to think about the time period we're living in right now. Yeah, so I mean, Ukraine. It's what I hear is basically Trump is right now trying to find what is going to be. They're trying to figure out the negotiations behind the scene between Witkoff and Kirillov are going on to try to figure out what's going to be that announcement that Trump is going to make, what sanctions, what secondary, what can he get away with that won't hurt Putin won't hurt Russia enough, but we'll try to get a little heat off of Trump to continue doing it because, what I'm really hearing is that Russia, literally, I mean, I think in the next 48, 72 hours, is preparing a major offensive that is going to make this one look like, very small. So
Where?
In the Sunni area, the
SUNY
Donetsk
Oblast, yeah.
area, basically, Odessa, the Oblast, Donetsk, to try to take over, basically try to take over those parts where they try to, in their theatrical Alaska meeting, that they were going to swap. Remember that swap for land because it's land that they don't even control, though they
Yeah.
don't even have.
Yeah.
But that's the part that they're going to make a major push to. I mean, on the good part about it. Look, the Ukrainians are constantly making hits inside of Russia. Some of them are deeper, deeper. They've depleted their energy and oil, and literally there's gas lines in Russia for hours and hours. So from those are good little wins. But in reality, I mean, they need weapons. I mean, this attack, the prime minister came out and said, listen, if we don't get, weapons quickly to be able not only to defend ourselves, but to go on the offensive, the winter's coming and it's going to be scary because also keep in mind the one thing none of us expected, even I didn't expect that to play out the way Trump put it, play this card, but we literally have now seen Vladimir Putin go in 6 months from a country, and I wrote about it in my Substack for those of you that didn't get a chance to read it. It went from basically getting a depleted country that was on the verge of going economically collapse, was at a standstill at the war, was barely surviving a coup from his, Prigozhin, that he had to go kill his own, Wagner, the guy that was doing all of a sudden because they tried a coup and take him out. Go through all of this to now, you saw him literally last week on the center stage, leading the way between China partnering up with Xi. You got Kim Jong Un there running around. You got now people like Modi floating. You got Erdogan, from which they didn't talk about, but he was there. Turkey, which is another NATO country. You had representatives from what's it called? Victor Hungary, another NATO country. You had,
Orban, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, Orban Victor. You also had, the same two, Armenia and Azerbaijan that were just at the White House. They were there. I mean, you had literally like it was if we were watching a movie, if it was like a Batman movie, it was like weird. It was like it was like Gotham City, and you saw, the Joker and the Penguin, everybody getting together, and and you had the bat. What's it called? Batman, which Trump is the Batman, not the good Batman, the bad Batman, and not being invited to the party. So
Mm.
sitting there like all of that. So that definitely I did not expect that to play out so quickly. I thought that we would see more normalization between Russia and the United States, but even Putin played his card strong on that because he actually was making plans behind the scenes with the axis of evil like Xi and all and what's his name, Kim Jong Un, to get Modi in there and let Trump play it out, like setting Trump up. You know what? It's so funny now that we sit there and talk about it, because now I'm thinking back to some of the things that I was writing about and talking about, and now how they're coming together is because when Trump came out and said he was going to punish Russia with secondary, what's it called?
Secondary sanctions. Yeah.
Secondary
And
sanctions.
he hammered India.
Right, but let me take everybody back for a second because you just got me on this thought that I just remembered something, and this is really interesting because you at the same time he didn't just threaten India, he also threatened China.
Yeah.
He threatened, and at the same time he was negotiating both with China and India on our tariffs. At the same time, China and India were the biggest oil buyers of Russia. I remember, and I'll find the Substack. I wrote a Substack literally a couple of days prior to say that my sources tell me that he's not going to do nothing to China because he's scared to screw up his negotiations, and he's scared to mess with China because they're very close to cutting some sort of tariff deal. So India is going to be the scapegoat. So right now, Witkoff is negotiating to what degree the tariffs could be in India without hurting anybody. I mean, without hurting Russia, pissing off India, but not not doing anything for Russia. So basically, Putin played Trump and told him, "Hey, sanction them 50 or 100% or 50%." He knew that was going to piss off India. Because he already spoke to Modi prior. He knew India is still going to buy their oil because they were already, the behind the scene. Trump, like
Yeah.
a fool, plays into Putin's hand, goes out there, nails India. Tell India Modi runs right away to Xi and Putin over there in China and starts hugging and kissing like their best friend. And Trump stand there holding, saying, "Uh-huh. You want? It was a very impressive parade you guys had there. I was watching. I was
Way to
watching."
conspire against the United States in that darkest part of China. Yeah, yeah, that tweet too. I remember that.
And now the same thing is happening because basically now they're really Trump came out, made an announcement, said he's going to come out and punish Russia somehow, secondary sanctions. So what I'm hearing is they're literally right now negotiating what type of theatrical sanctions that he could come up with that are going to be. I'm curious to see if he even comes up with any secondary sanctions, or it will be against again maybe India more. You know, you never know. He might come out, nail India for another 100% to try to hurt Russia that way. You know, what I'm saying to you. So yeah.
Is so let me ask you a couple questions because Lev, one of the things that shocks the system when you understand how tight Trump is with Putin, how much he worships Putin. One of the things that's hard to square is when he gets stuffed in a locker by Putin, like we're watching him at that at that dictator summit, like we're talking about. And it also kind of shocks the system a little bit when you see him tweet these capitulatory tweets. Or truth socials about have a nice life, loved your parade, all that other bullshit. Like the one thing that I think is really hard for people to square, and maybe you could kind of let us in on it because it's one of the things that I struggle with every time we have a conversation until I talk to you and you download what's going on behind the scenes is the idea that Trump is just coming into the knowledge 7 months in after his first term getting played, knowing full well how he's been supported by Russian financiers, Russian oligarchs, knowing full well that he laundered money for the mob, knowing full well that he is a made man with the Russian oligarchs and, of course, with Vladimir Putin. But one of the things that I have a really hard time squaring, and I know a lot of other people do too, is this idea that Trump is only now starting to realize, but is not verbalizing it to anybody. But his inner circle has kind of told him, "You're being played. You've been outfoxed. You've been outsmarted, et cetera, et cetera." And is any of that true? Like, is it true that Trump is just now? No, none of it's true. Okay, well, fill me in. I feel like I just
No.
wasted 2 minutes asking you the question.
But first, so I can promise you, nobody in his inner circle is even saying anything close to like, "Hey, boss, you're being played," or that type of words don't come out of that mouth. They don't, Trump is not being played. Second of all, you got, well, let me put it to you this way: is he being played? Yes, he's definitely being played. Is he frustrated and understands that he's being played and pissed off that the way he's being played and that he can't react the way he would typically want to react?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But the reasoning for it, and that's why I was shaking my hand, and what I'm actually working on right now, and some of the stuff that I'm going to be putting out. So you definitely, for those of you who haven't subscribed, you want to make subscribe because I'm working on some very powerful inside scoop on some of what Russia really has on Donald Trump. Like what because I know there's been conversations and there's been all this constantly for years about compromise and what Russia, and is he a Russian agent, and is he all this stuff, Krasnov, and all this stuff. And so a lot of it I laugh at because I knowing deeply and being around that circles, knowing that he's not a Russian agent, he doesn't report, he doesn't work for the KGB, doesn't go out there and do things on behalf of it. It's but it, Trump, when the real truth comes out and the real information, when history is broken, when people write the books, when the truth comes out, I think this is going to be the biggest KGB operation in the history of the KGB of the world. What they were able to do with Donald Trump, the way they were able, and for as many years as they were able to do it, and to be able to get the Holy Grail by having him putting him in the White House not once but twice.
Mm.
I mean, once it's all uncovered and everything is going to be eventually history will be untold. I think we're going to be amazed because what I'm being amazed with some of the information I'm starting to go into and understand the way they basically, a lot of Donald Trump's life was formulated by the KGB and led to put into circumstances, lots of even current friends and even like like he would call family, close friends, associates for many years are compromised, like assets, like with Russia and everything else like that. So I mean, it's beyond the just like, hey, yeah, Trump came over to Russia, or he was owed money, we gave him some money. It was all of that. The fact that like he even setting up the setups of him getting in trouble and then them helping him out, putting him in positions of things, getting all that. So there is compromise, but the compromise has more to do with just Trump living his normal life, not ever thinking that he's being and having like imagine having the CIA follow you for the past 40 years.
Mm.
Not to say you did anything like crazy wrong, but
Yeah, sure.
we all live a life now. They could paint that to be anything and make you out to be any type of, what I'm saying. And now imagine for those 40 years, not only did they follow you, now imagine they played a role by setting up scenarios. Like all of a sudden you were supposed to get a loan and they made a phone call and that loan didn't come through and you were sitting there not knowing what to do. And some oligarch walks into your event and says, hey, I'll give you the 40 million. Oh, great. Thank you. I'm just saying to you, like, imagine not only were they like just literally like, but literally playing you, and that's where I think the biggest story is going to be that what Russia, what the Soviet Union started, and then Putin was able to continue, and then they were able to be rewarded by the biggest gift by getting him into the White House, and then
Mm.
being that useful idiot that we see him being on the center stage.
Yeah,
So
that's what a lot of people are asking, witting or unwitting, and that's the question I ask you. And I think it's a little combination of both. I think it's unwitting in the beginning, always landing with his ass in the butter, getting bailed out by Deutsche Bank and Russian oligarchs, and selling mansions to Russians, where a Russian comes up to you and he's like, "I'll give you twice market value for your house." I mean, these are fucking things that never happen, right? But to your point, some of the reporting that we've seen and some of the sources that you have, and obviously and you're going to start writing about it on your Substack. And by the way, maybe the best whistleblower, follower, insider on the planet. So go and hustle over to Lev's Substack, become an annual subscriber, become a founding subscriber, become a monthly subscriber. Share this kind of content. But you started to get kind of blurbs of the idea that he was an unwitting, because he's also an idiot, because he's also greedy, because he has no moral compass, also the perfect fucking mark for the KGB when they decided to poison the United States of America and take it over from within. And it started like 40, 50 years ago, and Donald Trump was their guy. And it was, it's funny now, I go back and I think about all the times that he ran for president before. He probably had a KGB asset in his ear going, you should just run for president. You should keep trying to run for president. Keep doing it. Keep going, because you're Donald Trump. You're the greatest. And the inflated sense of ego this dick has, the inflated idea that he had some kind of special skill, or he was a real, incredible manipulator, which he is, a manipulator of people, or he was a great business guy. That was all farmed and encouraged. And that's the guy that we kind of see today. And I wonder how much KGB influence not only went into, keeping this guy alive, keeping him going, but also went into the idea that, hey, you're a special guy, Donald Trump. You're going to be the president of the United States, because all of these things being the perfect storm that they are and were, it's interesting to me that everybody around him, even the people that serve in his cabinet, know he's an idiot, but placate to him because now he's so fucking powerful. But he's never been a bright guy.
I mean, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. Also, the timing. I mean, the time that Donald Trump came through, the 1980s, the 1970s, the early 90s was a different time. I mean, the 90s already was a transition, but the 70s and 80s was a different environment. And the other thing, it's interesting to take a look in Donald Trump's history that he never got in trouble, living through a time period and being in the industries that he was, dealing with the people that he was associated with, but the Roy Cohens and others of the
Yeah,
world,
yeah, yeah.
and to be around it, he's never even been implicated. That leads me to, the interesting part where a lot of people say, well, was it true? Johnson said, he was a FBI informant. He was an FBI informant. Look, I don't know for a fact. I can't tell you. I wasn't there to sit there. If he's if you ask me, I don't believe he was an FBI informant because I just don't believe that. Because he lies so much. I don't think they would even the FBI would be able to.
Well, Johnson
But
kind of walked that back the other day. He's like, "Well, I was just saying that he's trying to help. I don't know if it's, and he was very ambiguous about it. But can we break that down just for a second? Did you see Mike Johnson like close his eyes and like hold his hands together and go, guys, Donald Trump was the FBI informant that helped catch Jeffrey Epstein. You don't understand how important he was to catching Jeffrey Epstein.
What,
He's
well, here's where he fucked up. This is how they always slip, because see, Donald Trump, and this is where I wanted to say it's important for people to understand. There's a difference between being an official FBI informant. That means you're on their either payroll or you're on their records. You have a handler, somebody that takes down, meets with you, gets information from you. That's being like an informant, official handler. You're on record. You're known. You're an official informant. Then there are guys that make the phone calls, guys that have like bodyguards that are ex-police, ex-FBI agents that knows somebody that says, take a look. I know that douchebag's gonna, pick up $100,000 over there that at this and this time. I got you, but look the other way if you owe me one type of shit. Now that Donald Trump was a master of. See, that's Donald Trump was a master of where he would blow everybody up to, and that's why how he was able to stay out of it, and I think probably the FBI probably knew, what I'm saying to you, like that there was like, some kind of, that it wasn't just coming anonymous tips coming like that they ran on. But I think, especially, without going too deep into one story that maybe one day I'll talk about little Nicky Scarfo and the Philadelphia mob and Donald Trump's Atlantic City.
oh, you can't. I'm gonna get Lev blue balls if you stop there, dude.
For a different time, a different show. show.
I hate when people do that where they're like they tease you a little bit and they go, "Oh yeah, no, I shouldn't say anything right now. I shouldn't say." I
No,
should.
I was just this is like, but yeah, no, but listen, I think, look, Donald Trump, we know for a fact he is who he is. This is the guy that would make phone calls and pretend that he was somebody else, and talk about how great he was, for there to be stories written about him in the newspapers and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that he was such a great playboy and stuff like that. So Donald, so it's not that far apart for doing the same thing, but the opposite way by making a phone call on your competitor,
Mhm.
making your phone call because the world he lives in, casinos, you're talking about real estate, cutthroat business of New York at the time, especially 70s and 80s, where the mob controlled all of it. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying to you? You couldn't, from the basically the unions to and he was doing huge projects. So, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it's wild. It kind of all comes around. I mean, we're talking about the same thing, which all points to the same thing, which are distractions and Sims and ideas that Donald Trump can tell you what he is, tell you what he's doing, but he's really doing a million other things that are absolutely fucking detrimental to everybody around him, with the exception of him. Let's bring a couple of those things into the conversation. Venezuela, he blows a boat out of the water carrying 11 passengers off the coast of Venezuela, and then sends 7 warships, 10 F-35s down to Puerto Rico. They're staging 4,500 servicemen and women. And I wrote about this today. Seems, and by the way, let's just add a little flavor to it. JD Vance says he doesn't give a shit that Trump did that. It's an extra.
He responded to my boy Krasinski.
Oh, did he really?
Brian.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
actually,
yeah.
you know what? You just reminded me. You know what? We should have Brian on. Maybe we could do it tomorrow. You want to do that? I'll
Yeah,
get
yeah. Let's
Brian.
get
Well,
Brian
that's
on
so
to talk
fun.
about
I'll
his
get
fight with
Brian.
the Twitter fight with the vice president of the United
Just,
States.
just think of what kind of idiot Vance is to respond to
Ah, fuck.
a regular guy that just on social media to respond the way he responds. But Rand Paul jumped all over it. I'm
Oh, I
surprised.
know.
Give him
I know I'm
crap
not a
for
Rand Paul guy, but I'm a Rand Paul guy. Anytime someone goes, yeah, just talking about how fucking petty that is for the vice president of the United States to literally go and troll a guy who just reports the news online because he doesn't like the news, which in itself tells the whole fucking story, doesn't it, Lev? Like, I mean, the dude's like, yeah, yeah, we totally killed a bunch of Venezuelans and we weren't supposed to. Stop calling it a war crime. Please, whatever you do, because it is a war crime. Anyway, best way to cover up a war crime is with a war. Best way to distract people is with a war. What do you make of, or what are you hearing about what's going on in Venezuela right now? Because this distraction could be a very serious military action with a very sovereign country.
Well, put it this way. I'm going to be breaking some big news, I think, in the next 24, 48 hours on Venezuela. I'm waiting to hear some stuff back because of, but he's going to attack just when the time is right. I don't think it's going to happen today or tomorrow. It's going to be closer towards the midterms. I think you're going to see a lot of antagonization going back and forth. The setup, there's going to be a lot more rhetoric. What I'm hearing from what the plan is, basically, that Miller and them got going in motion right now. This week, there's going to be right now already. What I'm hearing is there's already ICE agents and federal agents that are being placed strategically inside of Chicago, Illinois, and some other cities like Portland and others. And that this week they're going to start that movement. More of a push, and while they're doing that, they're going to continue to set up another maybe theatrical moves to be able to blame Venezuela or Maduro on some move that might take place. And then I think you're going to see closer to, again, it all depends how what I'm hearing, again, it all depends how Trump's going to feel as far as the elections are going, as far as the midterms are going, because right now they're convinced that there's no chance. His numbers are so bad and everything. I mean, he's even below. I think at below -2 or -4% in immigration, -2% or 4% in crime. I mean, I'm not even talking about as far as all the economic tariffs. I think it's -17, -20%. I mean, the numbers. He's underwater. They all understand it. That's why there's a lot of like nervousness behind the scenes inside the Trump camp too. That's why when we spoke last week, I said he's like a rat in that corner, and that's sometimes even more dangerous because that's when the rat jumps, he has nowhere else to go, and that's kind of where he's put himself into all over the country, all over the world. In Russia, he's cornered. He can't go in. He's not going to go World War III with Russia over Ukraine. So his only options are to try to save face. Just think about it. He is right now trying to figure out how to save face, to walk away without, being embarrassed, or because that to him, he doesn't want to look like an idiot on the center stage. But he knows there's nothing really he could do about it. He's besides, playing the game. He knows there's nothing he could do in China, that he lost his cards, his negotiating cards, especially right now. Just think about with the court ruling about his tariffs right now. If the Supreme Court upholds it and he has to give back, just think about how fucked this idiot is and how we're screwed as a country because of all the bullying it's basically just like in my day, to translate to you, it's like getting you call all your boys, you say you get 100 people, say let's go fight, we're gonna meet these other guys, fight, you got 100 guys behind you, and as you're walking, you don't turn around, you're talking, and they all disappear. You just show up there and then you turn around, you're by yourself against this is what's happening to Donald Trump right now.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying to you, I mean, just think about it. He's been bullying the whole world with these tariffs. And now all of
Mm.
a sudden, imagine not only we have to give back all this money, You know,
160 billion dollars taxpayers would have to fork over. Yeah.
just think about it, just a cluster for with our economy is already in a
Mhm.
shithole. You know what I'm saying to you? Prices are. I mean, the only people that are thinking that this is a beautiful country are the rich. You know, the rich got richer. It's like the typical in those, in dictatorships, and so that's what they portray, the picture, the video, and for the others to think that this is where they want to get to, this is where the world should be, and they blame themselves, saying it's our fault we're not rich, not because of what the government's doing to us or what's happening.
Mm.
And so
Yeah, those are. I mean, it's amazing. You piece it together so well. These are again all distractions. Started talking about Ukraine. Donnie 2 weeks said he's going to insert himself and he's going to ramp up sanctions. We know that that's a lie. Behind the scenes, there's negotiation for Donald Trump and Witkoff with Putin as to how they can keep the theatrics up to keep helping Donald Trump turn the page from the Epstein files, turn the page for militarizing certain states, blue states, sanctuary cities, et cetera, et cetera. We talked about Venezuela. I mean, that's a fucking hot cake. You're going to invade a sovereign country in South America just so people don't pay attention to your shitty jobs numbers, just so people don't pay attention to your involvement with the Epstein files and your ongoing nuclear fucking cover up of the Epstein files. And then, of course, there's Chicago. And there was an interesting Supreme Court ruling today that said, for now, Donald Trump's ICE goons can arrest and detain anybody without any suspicion of wrongdoing. That came out an hour before we actually jumped on. Is the Supreme Court basically greenlit Donald Trump's ICE goons, which are funded to the tune of 150 billion fucking dollars, masked, unnamed ICE goons, no badges, to go ham and arrest any fucking person that they want. That was a huge win for the GOP, huge win for Trump. And it comes maybe 24 to 72 hours before ICE, which is staged at a naval base in the Great Lakes, just off the coast, on the coast of Chicago, Illinois, as they are preparing to not just insert themselves into the city of Chicago. This promises to be one of the most fucking disgusting nuclear distractions, on top of that fucking insane meme that he put out on the weekend saying Chicago is going to find out why we renamed it the Department of War, effectively declaring war on one of the greatest American cities and the people in it, with a apocalypse now take of the general on the beach with his face behind sunglasses. You wrote about it. I wrote about it. The whole world fucking lost its mind. But nothing distracts like that. Would love your opinion, because this one promises to have all the makings of LA on steroids, knowing how hard the people of Chicago, the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, and the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, and the rest of that beautiful state and that incredible city, Chicago, have voiced their opinion that they do not want those pricks in the city.
you know unfortunately, Dean, until Governor Pritzker, I mean, they're great people. They're not bashing them anyway, but until they get off their ass and get and Newsom get off their ass and they, decide to really play the game, really, want to win and be proactive, they're gonna get their asses handed to them because Trump controls. Unfortunately, I told you I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything, and it is what it is. Trump controls all the. He controls everything. He controls the Supreme Court, folks. Just think about what Dean just told you. The Supreme Court just basically greenlit and said that ICE, right before they're about to invade Chicago, could go arrest anybody they want, profile, racial profiling, whatever the hell they want to do, go for it, rock and roll. And Donald Trump even tells you, there's not nobody listens to him. The media, I don't understand. I feel like crazy sometimes, but he turned around and said, even when they said, when the lower court came out, did that about the tariffs,
Yep.
and we were just talking about what we didn't finish talking about is because I truly believe that Donald Trump is going to, end up winning in the Supreme Court. They're gonna uphold,
I do too.
they're gonna tell, just like he said, he goes, we're gonna take it directly to the Supreme Court,
Mhm.
and and look, you have to understand, if the Supreme Court ran the way it should be run, that it was separate from the executive power, and that there was no you know, they're not supposed to speak. There's not supposed to have, interaction. There's supposed to be two separate parties. Well, in Donald Trump world, that doesn't exist.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying to you? Because his relationships with these Supreme Court, he believes they owe him. And you gotta also understand is see in Donald Trump's world, it's not even Donald Trump personally. It's how he doesn't know these people personally. Somebody brought him, just like when he got Bill Barr. He didn't know who Bill Barr was. Victoria Tunzing and Joe DeGenero brought him and said, Bill Barr is going to take care of your Mueller investigation. And he hired Bill Barr. So the same thing with these judges. So whoever told them to go, nominate these, judges, had the relationship that told them they would be very, positive towards your policies, towards you, Mr. President,
Hmm.
because this is the pitch where and trust me when I tell you, now that you folks know him already, if I would have told you this a few years ago, you would have said I'm crazy. No, love, that doesn't work that way. The president's here. But now that you know Donald Trump, now you understand how those conversations went. It was like, listen, we want Gorsuch and what? Oh, okay, he's gonna trust me when I tell you. When he's there, when you need something, he's gonna vote for you. You know what I'm saying? Boom, 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 down the aisle. And
Yep.
so,
Kavanaugh,
so
Gorsuch,
Kevin
Amy
Gorsuch,
Comey Barrett. Yeah.
Romy Barrett, and now that's why when they say, yeah, they might vote somewhere that's irrelevant, but on any important matter that Trump needed,
Yeah.
he got
Every time. Every time.
every time, and
Every
that's why
time, and
when
to the
yeah.
point where the Supreme Court Justice John Roberts put out a statement a while ago saying, "Hey, you junior court systems, you secondary courts, you appeals courts and federal courts, you're not the Supreme Court, so you know keep that in mind when you're making decisions. You can't make decisions that we're going to make, and then also factor it into that." We're talking about the Supreme Court, the tariffs. Like, let's just move the conversation over from what the Supreme Court decided to green light for Trump today, which, hey, you can literally arrest, detain, and beat the shit out of anybody in the United States of America with no due process based on race. That's exactly what they said today in that decision. But then, you couple that with the idea that he's going to kick the tariff shit up to the Supreme Court. Three separate courts, separate from the Trump government, all have upheld the fact that they are illegal tariffs, something that Mark Carney was counting on, which is why we didn't sign the extortion deal with him. Oh, Canada. Thank you very much, Mark. But the other part of that, which is going to be fascinating, is that the Supreme Court is not just full of corrupt assholes that Trump put on the Supreme Court, but Clarence Thomas is about as fucking corrupt as they come. You could probably say the same thing for John Roberts. I just watched my buddy Steve Schmidt with Ryan Lizza talk about how he was at John Roberts' confirmation hearing and called him the worst fucking human being on the planet and an embarrassment to the American judicial system and the most corrupt judge on the Supreme Court. And so, you factor in all of the corruption, which MAGA is a corruption racket. I mean, it's a protection racket for pedophiles and corrupt assholes. And there are a bunch of those guys that are on the Supreme Court making decisions for Trump, as you point out, when it matters the most. And I have zero doubt, even though it is exclusively a congressional oversight thing, tariffs, exclusively. Congress is the only body that should be allowed to levy tariffs in any capacity whatsoever. It'll be the death of the three branches of government when they get that final tariff decision, if indeed the Supreme Court does what we know they always do, which is side with Trump.
Look, man, I'm sounding the alarm bell more and more because after what I seen, even in the Oval when he had the Tech Bro meeting there, watching people like Bill Gates squirm all over him and Zuckerberg like sit there like a lost child and the way not knowing did I answer properly? Should I have said this much? Do you want me to give you six? What do I do? Just tell me what I do. I'll do it. Like,
Was that number enough? 600 billion. Bill Gates looked like a fucking beaten dog at that table too, like a dog
yes,
on a leash. Like, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Tim Cook. Yeah, yeah.
Tim Cook watching, and watching the way they've all bowed down, and then at the same time watching, where's Jerry Cooney? Where Big Shot? He had no problem writing a letter, penning a op-ed about Biden or this one again. I don't care about one or the other. But where are you now? Where's Obama? Where's Biden? Where's Harris? Everybody's yeah. We see sightings. We see sightings. Where's Clinton? Everybody's scared. You don't see them popping up their head or even talking about nothing. Like you'll see them respond only like when he attacks them, then they'll respond. Where's anybody standing out? How are we left as alone to fight a fight? The only people we see running around, which is worse for us. And I'm sorry, guys, you might hate me for this, but the fact that you see that the leaders of the party are three people that are saying that they have no chance and actually are giving the opposite effect is you got AOC, you got Bernie Sanders, and you got Mandawi standing together in New York, like, rah, rah, rah. That's the new face of the Democratic Party. You know what? Donald Trump and the Republicans are just licking their chops.
Yeah.
They're just like it's like they won't even have to do an insurrection. They
You got Nancy Pelosi in the corner
what
counting her money,
yeah,
trying to
where's
stay out of the
Nancy?
line of fire. You got Chuck Schumer not shutting down government when he missed his golden fucking opportunity to put everybody on notice. You got a bunch of other Democrats that approved all of these cabinet dickheads like RFK Jr., who is going to kill millions of Americans. To your point, that is one of the greatest fucking tragedies of this is guys like Schumer, Pelosi. Yeah, we're going to fight this guy. He's a dickhead. They have disappeared. They have disappeared, to your point.
Yeah, not only Pelosi and them were the cause of a lot of the shit that we're dealing with, and now they disappeared and they're gone. I mean, all of them. There's nobody out there. I mean, and then and with all due respect, I mean, again, you got Newsom. You know, I'm going to tell it like it is. Yeah, okay, great. He's out there fighting, but he's fighting because Donald Trump calls him a piece of shit every day. He calls him Nusco.
Mhm.
Okay, he ain't responding for the country, folks. He's responding for himself. He's out there trying to be, what I'm saying to you, play this troll game and, attack him back and forth. But there's a lot more that could be done. They could be proactive. That's the one thing, you don't see is when was the last time they came out with some sort of, a policy or something to say this is what the country needs to do. You know what I'm saying to you? All I hear about is this is bad, this is bad. I say, okay, give a solution. Let's go, let's run, give a message. That's why, like, I sit there talking about it's like I am totally not for Mandawi. I don't agree with this policy. I think, it's I somebody that was born in the Soviet Union where, where I saw exactly what, free this, free that, free everything is controlled by the government and where that leads, especially in a place like New York. I disagree with that, but that's great. He could agree, we can disagree. That's what the point of it.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
the, but,
Debate.
but the fact that he has some sort of message, the fact that he has a message is a lot more than I could say for any other Democrat out there. At least he's telling, even if I disagree with what his message is, at
Mhm.
least he has a message, and that's why he has such popularity because he's
Mhm.
the only one coming out with something. We don't have nobody. Well, tell me who else, what other Democrat out there is coming out? Besides, what message? You please tell me what message is Gavin Newsom coming out with? There's no message. All he's coming out, he's trolling Donald Trump.
Yep.
That's all. Oh, that's all he does. Trolls Donald Trump every day, and that's what his whole game plan is. What message is Governor Pritzker coming out with? Nothing. He just sits there and is basically hoping that he doesn't get wiped out by a tsunami of the federal government right now, and standing there saying, again, great. But let's get forward. Where's the somebody coming out and say, you know what? This is not how you fix crime.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to fix crime. This is what I propose to fix crime, so we don't need you, Donald Trump. Or this is what I propose, to get our economy in better shape. Stop with the tariffs. This is what I propose. You know what I'm saying to you? Who?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Well, and to your point, I mean, you make a fucking great point again, Lev. By the way, everybody go subscribe. Lev remembers the name of the Substack. Become a paid subscriber. His Q&As are incredible. His paid content's awesome. He doesn't really have any paywalls, and he's the biggest truth slinger out there right now. But one of the things, and I think it's worth noting is, and I'll draw the Canada parallel a little bit, is that when Trump decided that he was going to annex Canada and turn us into the 51st state, there was that immediate shift, incredible unity. But there were a lot of people that had their political careers saved or made by the idea that Oh my, and got their jobs back, by the way. They were gonna get fired from their political appointments and their political jobs if Mark Carney lost. So everybody's opposition money went into making everybody a fighter against Donald Trump up here in Canada, right? And then you saw approval ratings rise every time Donald Trump does something stupid. Mark Carney's approval rating goes up. Mark Carney isn't performative; the Liberal Party is. So I see the same thing kind of happening in the United States now. It's, the butterfly effect, but at the same time, you almost have to accept it. That a lot of people like Gavin Newsom who are pushing back in the way he's doing, trolling the way he's doing, they're also telling people that their national, like Gavin Newsom put out a tweet. He's like, my national approval rating is now higher than Donald Trump's. And I'm like, well, there's the rub for a guy like that. They utilize these things for their own approval ratings, and they utilize these things to test the waters for maybe running for president or maybe achieving higher office or getting something out of it. And I see the same thing with JB Pritzker, much less than I do with Gavin Newsom, because Pritzker is doing his best to say people, hey, listen, today this is what you have to focus on. Here's a legend of what your rights are. Know your rights before ICE shows up to your door. Here's what we're doing. Same thing. Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, he's putting some action into trying to prevent Donald Trump's ICE agents from doing the worst of the worst. They don't have a choice. These guys are still coming. But to your point, and again, a guy like Chuck Schumer, the second Trump gets back into office, he gives him a green light for that budget, keeps the government in business, and then tells everybody he just finished writing a fantastic book and we should all go buy it. I mean, politicians are politicians on every side of the aisle. Yeah.
Someone's ringing at my door. 1 second, I'll be right back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Live Substack. Hold
Live
the fort
Substack.
down.
See, Lev's going to go and figure out who's at his door. I just pray it's someone nice, because this guy is under the skin of Donald Trump and MAGA. That I know for a fact.
It wasn't
Oh,
Donald.
there he is. You came back. You came back. All right.
It wasn't Donald Trump.
Wasn't a nice goon coming to your door?
Nice.
But my point was this: is that you're watching politicians politic on both sides, but the more useless politicians on the Democratic side, there's no action. There's only this seemingly inflammation of their egos at the same time. It's like pissing into the wind for people like us who are watching this happen and going, "Hey, everybody, fuck, somebody do something," because nobody's doing anything.
Oh, 100%. And it's a combination of you have useless Democratic leadership that's doing absolutely nothing, and then you have complicit Republican GOP leadership that is complicit and is giving away the farm. They gave up the other two branches of power, our Congress and our Senate, and basically are allowing him now to do whatever he wants with the executive branch. So that's why we, the people, that's why our voices are so important. That's why we, our community is so important. That's why, we go out there and we say that we need you to subscribe. We need you to help build the community, the movement, because we are the only true resistance that's left right now that is able to, because this is our country and there, this is, where we live, and we're not going to take it anymore, that type of attitude. And this is where we are because our leaders in both parts of our government has let us down. The GOP, you just think about a simple issue that should be completely the easiest thing. It should be completely no politics involved. The Epstein files right now, to be able just to release them. We're not even talking about prosecuting anybody. We're just talking about just to release the files, and we are still in the midst of can't get another two. Well, let me reframe. What I'm hearing from my sources that we do have the 218 votes, but with that said, just think about to what degree we're going, that the White House is threatening other, congressmen and congresswomen that if they vote onto it, that they're going to go after them in the primaries and everything like that. So, it's crazy to believe to what degree we have sank and where we are as a country right now. And that's why our only defense. It's a little different than you guys up in Canada, because up in Canada, you guys united against an intruder. Here, our monster has built such a cult following that part of the reason why he was able to get into office and the reason why dictators are able to get into power is the first thing they do is they divide the country.
Mm.
Because when you have a united country, then you're never going to be able to get somebody like that into power. The only way you're able to sneak in, and if you look back at history, it's always the same. Is the only way they're able to sneak in when there's some sort of diversion happening. Either war is happening, either the economy, a collapse, a depression, and then you get that somebody that comes in, gives you that lie, that hope, that peace, where people cling on to and look past everything else. And that's what Donald Trump was. He kind of came into that period of where we were all tired of the political families. We were all tired of the Clintons, the Bushes, and here you have this guy that we looked past, all his, bad things or his, what he could be that, and made believe that his lie that he's going to come in, be a guy for like any one of us and make it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how he took advantage of it.
That's what struck a tone, right? Lev Parnas, my friend Lev. Please, everybody, go and subscribe to his Substack. It's called Lev Remembers. Paid subs, incredible. Free subs, incredible. Sharing, absolutely necessary. Conversations like this and others, content from people like Lev. Encourage everybody to go read his latest post on a very dark night in Ukraine last night and the damage that Trump is continuing to allow while allies are trying their best to support the beautiful people of Ukraine who are currently being invaded by a genocidal terroristic dictator named Vladimir Putin. So please go and read that. You not only get a chance to stay informed, but Jesus, he even does like paid Q&As for people. He does it like every Saturday. He'll just kind of sit back with his tea and just answer your questions. Thousands of people come. You should do the same. Lev, really appreciate you being here, my friend. As always, awesome to see you. Great to be with you. Let's see if we can get Kraz on tomorrow and maybe download his Twitter fight with the Vice President of the United States. Confirmed couch humper, by the way. Just wanted to point that
Yeah.
out.
Let's do it, brother. Thank you always, Dean. Keep up the fight, my brother. Love you, man.
Love you
Much
too, pal.
support.
Talk to you.
I'll work on Kraz's team. Give me a call later on. Have a
I will.
great day, guys. Take care.
Take care, pal. There you go. There's my friend Lev
Oh,
Parnas. Lev, remember. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
before I go, I just want a quick shout out to Dan Prado. I'm going to be doing a show with him at 4 o'clock today. He's one of my followers, subscribers. Didn't know that. I didn't even know his story that well. I looked it up a little bit. Army vet. I saw him. You did a live with him, so
Mhm.
I'm excited. 4 o'clock today. For those of you, come support. We're gonna have a live Substack at 4 o'clock.
Oh, Nick, he's great. You're gonna love him. He's
Nick, I'm
awesome.
not
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
Nick.
yeah.
Yeah, Nick
No, yeah,
Prado.
yeah.
Nick, I
You're
apologize.
dude, and you know what? Be prepared because I've never heard a man use language like that in my life in a Substack live. So just you might want to like just put on some earmuffs before you show up to that.
Don't forget, I have Michael Cohen unleashed on Thursday. So
Let's get him back on one of these too very soon. Great to see you, my friend.
take care, brother.
See you this afternoon. Take care, guys. There you go. There's my friend Lev Parnas and your friend Lev Parnas too. He can be your friend on your phone. Go and subscribe to his Substack. Lev remembers. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for showing up today, my friends. American, Canadian, Bolivian, Mexican, doesn't matter to me. 138 countries in the subscriber base. I'm sure more. We're left. I even got a couple followers in Russia. I don't even know how that works. They're part of the resistance too, as are you. Right now, we've got 50% off subscriptions, annual, monthly, and founding as well. Founding means you never pay again. Annual, you can lock in for 50% off for the rest of your life. Same with the monthly. So now, September's a great month to stay in touch. September's also a great month to share content like this as Trump continues his fascist march to turning America into a fascist dictator hell. And my thoughts are with Chicago today. I wrote a piece about it. It was so beautiful, not reported on mainstream media. Chicago, where are you at? You're showing the world what's important by showing up for yourselves and your community. I watched these rallies this weekend. I watched the protests this weekend. I watched people, veterans, disabled veterans show up to say, this is not the army I served, and that man is not my president, and this is not right. And it made me happy. And I hope that the people of Chicago have had enough forewarning to understand what's at stake and how to act and what to do. JB Pritzker has a couple of great outlines on his Twitter feed, so I encourage everybody to go and check it out and stay close to each other. This is not something that never imagine, never imagine I would see unmasked, unnamed goons in green gear, same kind of green gear that I watched infiltrate Ukraine back in 2014. Oh, those are nobody's. Nobody. Don't worry about it. Yeah, well, look what happened. Same premise. Donald Trump has hundreds of thousands of these guys crawling around now. He's hiring hundreds of thousands of these people to hurt you, to scare you, to stop you from voting, or to get you to vote for him. He's trying to get as many people worked up as possible so he can cancel 2026 and rig 2028. Rig them both. All of these things are distractions, but they're also pillars of legitimately, in every sense of the word, the authoritarian dictator, fascist dictator's playbook on how you turn a country into a nightmare. So stay focused, everybody. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate you being here. Don't forget, I'll be back at 3:00. Zev, all these Evs, with my partner for these 5-Stack Live. His name is Zev Shalev. He does incredible work. We'll count down the 5 biggest stories of the day. Thank you for joining us for the Weekend Roundup. Don't forget to subscribe to Lev. Subscribe here. Take care of yourselves, America, from Canada. We love you. We will see you at 3:00. Bye, friends.